This man woke up to terrified screaming in his snowy yard. 3 tiny bear cubs were cornered against his fence by a pack of hungry wolves. But then, his Great Pyrenees smashed through the snow. He stood directly over the cubs, snarling and fighting until the wolf pack scattered. The mother bear dragged herself out from the tree line. She had a steel trap on her leg and was too weak to fight. She looked at the dog, then pushed her babies toward him. The dog didn't bark. He lay down in the snow and let the shivering cubs bury themselves in his thick fur. Years passed. The cubs grew into massive grizzlies. The dog got old, his hips gave out, and he couldn't walk. One winter night, the bears returned. They formed a tight circle around the dying dog, using their giant bodies as a wall to block the freezing wind. They stayed until his last breath. The next day, the man found a single honeycomb placed on his grave. This man woke up to a high-pitched scream in his garden. A tiny fawn was trapped in the fencing, and a coyote was closing in for the kill. But suddenly, his golden retriever burst through the back door. He didn't bark. He tackled the coyote and chased it all the way to the tree line. The mother deer never showed up. The fawn was shaking and alone. So the dog nudged it into the doghouse and curled around it to stop the shivering. They became inseparable. But months later, the fawn grew into a stag and returned to the wild. Years passed. The golden got old and went blind. He wandered too far into the woods and got lost. The man searched for hours. He finally found him. The dog was lying in the leaves, safe. Standing over him was a massive 10-point buck, using his antlers to fight off the same coyotes. The boy had returned to save his father. This man heard splashing in the freezing river. A tiny mountain lion cub was drowning in the current. His pit bull didn't hesitate. He dove into the ice, grabbed the cub, and dragged it to safety. The mother was gone, so the dog curled around the freezing cub, saving its life. They became brothers. Years later, the pit bull got old and stiff with arthritis. He collapsed in the deep snow. Suddenly, the massive lion returned. He didn't attack. He wrapped his body around the old dog, becoming a living blanket to keep his savior warm. This man found a baby fox crying in a deep, muddy hole. His mother had been taken by hunters. His dog didn't bark. Instead, he dropped his favorite squeaky toy down to comfort the terrified orphan. The dog raised the fox like his own puppy, teaching him to hunt. But eventually, the fox returned to the wild. Years later, the dog was old and too weak to play. He lay sadly on the porch. Suddenly, the fox returned. He didn't come empty-handed. He placed a new toy he found in the woods right at the old dog's paws. Tiny Lamb lost her mother the day she was born. The farmer locked her in a small crate alone, afraid she wouldn't survive the winter. She cried for days, shivering in the dark, waiting for a warmth that never came. When this girl found her, she couldn't walk away. She hid the lamb under her jacket and rushed her home. But she didn't raise her alone. Her golden retriever immediately ran over. She didn't bark. She started licking the cold lamb, cleaning her just like her own puppy. Under the dog's care, the lamb blossomed. She started jumping on the sofa, playing fetch, and eating from the dog bowl. She thought she was a golden retriever. A year later, the lamb had grown into a beautiful sheep and became a mother herself. But she never forgot who raised her. Every morning, she brings her new baby to the porch to kiss the old dog who saved her life.
This man opened his door in a lethal blizzard to find a massive Siberian tiger frozen solid against the frame. He thought she was about to attack, but then he realized she wasn't hunting. She was using the heat leaking from the door cracks to save the dying cub tucked under her belly. The man dragged them into his garage, using hair dryers and blankets to thaw her icy fur. She woke up with the growl, but when she saw her baby sleeping on a warm rug, she just laid her head down. 6 months later, the man was hiking when she stepped out of the woods. She dropped a rare antler at his feet, bowed her head, and vanished.
This tiny duckling was rejected by his mother because he was the runt. She left him behind in a freezing rainstorm, shivering and alone in the tall grass. The man didn't see him, but his pit bull did. The dog refused to move, whining at a patch of weeds until the man found the dying bird. They brought him inside. The dog didn't leave his side for 3 days. He let the duckling sleep on his paws to stay warm, acting like a giant, gentle pillow. Under the dog's care, the duckling survived. He grew up thinking he was a pit bull. He chased mailmen, wagged his tail, and slept in the dog bed. A year later, the duck found a mate and had babies of his own, but he didn't take them to the pond. He marched his line of ducklings straight to the porch to introduce them to their grandpa. This family heard terrified screaming inside their walls on Christmas Eve. Suddenly, the fireplace exploded with soot and a wild bobcat crashed into their living room. It thrashed around the furniture, but the dad realized it wasn't attacking. It had fallen from the roof and broken its leg. It was cowering in the corner, shaking in pain. The dad put on thick welding gloves and gently splinted the leg. The cat hissed, but let him finish, knowing he was helping. They let him rest by the fire for 2 days. A month later, the family found 5 dead rats neatly stacked on their doorstep. The bobcat had returned to pay his rent. This man was driving alone at midnight when a massive grizzly slammed onto his hood. She started clawing at his window, screaming in his face. He thought this was the end. But when he stepped out, she didn't attack. She grabbed his jacket and desperately dragged him into the dark woods. That's when he saw it. Her tiny cub was pinned under a massive fallen log, crying. The man ran back for his car jack. While the mother watched, he slowly lifted the heavy timber. The moment the cub was free, the giant bear turned to the man. Instead of attacking, she gently licked his trembling hand. 3 years later, a pack of wolves surrounded the man's cabin. Suddenly, a familiar roar shook the ground. The bear had returned to protect him. This woman opened her dryer to switch the laundry, but screamed in terror. A wild red fox was curled up inside the drum, snarling at her face. She was about to run until she saw the truth. It was 10 below zero outside. The fox hadn't broken in to attack. She had climbed up the vent pipe to keep her freezing babies alive. The woman didn't chase them out. She gave them warm blankets and food, letting them turn her laundry room into a safe den for the winter. In the spring, they returned to the wild, but months later, when a venomous snake lunged at the woman in her garden, the same fox darted out and killed it. She never forgot. This man woke up to terrified screaming in his backyard. 4 tiny bobcat kittens were cornered against the fence by a massive hawk, about to be taken. But then his German shepherd smashed through the door. He jumped over the kittens and barked at the sky until the predator flew away. The mother bobcat crawled out from the bushes. She had a broken leg and couldn't fight. She looked at the dog, terrified, but he didn't attack. Instead, he laid down and let the kittens climb on him. He cleaned their fur while the mother ate the food the man brought. Years passed. The kittens grew into lethal hunters. The shepherd got old and went blind. He laid on the porch, shivering. Suddenly, the bobcats returned. They didn't attack. They formed a tight circle around him, using their heavy fur to keep their old father warm. When he finally passed, they left a bird feather on his grave. They never forgot him. This man found a tiny cheetah cub abandoned in the freezing rain. He was shivering and too weak to move. His Labrador didn't bark. He climbed into the box and curled around the cub, licking it dry. They became inseparable. The dog taught the fastest animal on earth how to trust. Years passed. The lab got old and his legs gave out. He laid in the grass, unable to stand. Suddenly, the cheetah returned. He didn't run. He laid his head gently on the old dog's chest and purred, trying to heal his first best friend. This man found his Rottweiler barking frantically at a trash bag in the pouring rain. Inside was a tiny, blind raccoon, shivering and alone. The massive dog didn't bite. He gently picked the baby up in his mouth and carried it to his warm bed. He raised the orphan, letting it sleep on his paws every night. Years passed. The dog got old and went blind. He bumped into walls, confused. Suddenly, the raccoon returned. He used his tiny hands to hold the dog's paw, guiding his old father through the house.
I imagine we fell